we can start with the most pressing of matters, which is the stock market, and even more specifically, what the hell happened with GameStop?
That was fun, man. So you were in GameStop for a while, right?
Yeah.
You didn't jump on the bandwagon. You had some shares in there for a little while, and then the price very nicely started to go up. And at first, we attributed to the changes in leadership and strategy.
Yeah, so the guy who originally started, who's originally founder of Chewy, which for those who don't know, is an online-only retailer of pet and pet accessories, who, by the way, has nothing to do with Chewy anymore. I mean, I'm sure he still owns like a large amount of stock in that company because he started it, but he's not involved in the day-to-day operations of that company anymore. But he helped make Chewy what Chewy is now. Bought a large enough share of GameStop to be on the board. And when he did that, he also started bringing his people in, people that he had worked with whenever Chewy started. And to put in perspective what's actually happening with GameStop outside of the whole Reddit thing and all that other junk is if you go on GameStop's website, there's been an official statement that came out. It was about 3 weeks ago, don't quote me on that, around 3 weeks ago, where they officially changed the term inside of their description of what their business is to an online retailer. So it looks like what's happening is they brought in somebody who has experience creating an online, a successful online seller like Chewy. And then this guy brought in some of his partners. And I think what's going to happen is GameStop is going to move to an almost exclusively online retailer, video games. And so the brick and mortar stores, which they've been closing by the hundreds, by the way, throughout 2020 and now into 2021, where it's projected that 80% of their stores are going to close, or brick and mortar stores are going to close, is going to move to almost an exclusively online retailer. And they wanted to bring somebody in who knew that landscape to help breach them into that era.
Yeah,
I saw this happening.
Well, and let me add to that, because this just got announced a couple hours ago too. They just hired a CTO that comes from Amazon Web Services, so he's going to be taking over that. And then they also added a new SVP of customer care and VP of fulfillment, and they both have background on that online retail space. So it's going to be very, very intriguing, and it's good for the stock. But all of those leadership pieces are separate from what actually happened on the stock. And at first we thought, hey, you made a good bet there, Jonathan, when the price started to go up because of the changes, but there was more to it. So you want to talk about what
that's why I originally hopped on the bandwagon when I saw those changes happening. I was like, all right, so GameStop's about to close 80% of their retail stores. I saw the guy from Chewy come on board. I saw him bring his people on board, and I was like, okay, so we're looking at a rebranding. Microsoft made a pretty sizable investment into the company, and I was like, all right, so it looks like GameStop's going to change. It's like they're going to change. They have to. I mean, they've been fighting change for I don't know how long. Everything has been moving online, and GameStop's been fighting it until the very last moment. And it was either file for bankruptcy or completely change the way that they operate. So they finally chose to change the way that they operate. Unfortunately, that's going to cause the closing of 80% of their stores, and with it, a good sizable amount of their workforce is going to be minimized. And I saw that, I go, it's good. It's good, because right now, the stocks at the time were like $3.15, $3.16 per share, and it was super cheap to get in, and I was like, the worst case scenario is the company goes bankrupt, and I don't lose that much money. Whatever.
Yeah.
So, and then Reddit got a hold of it and started buying shares. Started buying shares like crazy. And all these people who weren't normally buying shares were buying shares in GameStop. So GameStop's stock prices started skyrocketing. Not because any of these people had any idea of what was going on or looked at it as a good solid investment or had done any research in the company's operations or anything. It was just like this underground buy GameStop stock right now type thing. and it caused the prices to skyrocket. In fact, it peaked at over $400 a share, which was absurd. Now it's coming back down to where it should be. It's still higher than it should be, actually. I think it's, I don't know. I think the other day it kind of like leveled off. Mark Cuban came in and bought a bunch of shares at one point, and I think he brought it back up above the $100 mark, and then now it's back down. But yeah, it was crazy. And what the worst thing about it was not that happened, because as a free market, every single American has a right to go and buy a share of any company that you want on the stock market that's openly traded. You have a right as a consumer to go on there and buy a share, or as many shares as you can afford, of any company that you so choose. Was that how the hedge fund managers and how big business reacted to that? And what they wanted to do was stop people from buying the stock because it was overvaluing the company. And so what happened? They shut it. A lot of the trading sites like TD Ameritrade, Robinhood, halted the ability of Americans to go and buy shares in GameStop, which is 100% illegal. What they did. That is illegal. What they did. So, I don't know if there's a class action lawsuit. There should be.
There is.
There should be. And I hope they get the pants fined off of them, because what they did is absolutely illegal in a free market to stop people from buying shares into a company. Yeah. It's illegal.
Yeah. I mean, Robinhood, they were about to file for IPO here probably this year. They were a very successful company, but now they have a lawsuit on their hands, and it's already cost them a lot of customers because a lot of people got pissed off, and then they started going out to different brokerage firms. One of them, Fidelity, they saw their volume skyrocket like 900% just over the weekend because they didn't restrict anybody from buying shares. I've been a Fidelity customer for years, and I love them. And they didn't put any of the restrictions that other firms put. And then also there was a leaked document or really a statement from a Robinhood employee that said that the White House reached out to Robinhood asking them to step in and stop the trading. And that's where it also got interesting, because then you dig into who in the White House may have an interest on doing that. And the Treasury Secretary, she had close ties to, I believe, Citadel, who owns a big part of Robinhood and also owned a lot of the, not her, but Citadel owned a lot of the shorts that they had on GameStop, which was why people started to buy the stock, because they saw that it was a very heavily shorted stock.
Well, yeah, the majority of hedge funds had shorted GameStop. They saw GameStop as an absolute loss. Yeah, just headed straight for the tanker, because at the time, the former CEO was not moving away from brick and mortar. They were coming up with all kinds of random stuff in order to stay open. In fact, press releases had not press releases, but internal documentation had been released where he was telling employees that if the police come in and try to shut you down, you say no. All this stuff had come out about, these internal workings of the company. Yeah. And even up to the point where they were actually manufacturing fake hand sanitizer, shipping it to their stores to sell just so they could stay open during the pandemic, because they could say, they sold hand sanitizer. And when, there was a bunch of YouTubers who came out and medical professionals who went and actually obtained some of this hand sanitizer and broke it down chemically and said, this stuff is not even hand sanitizer. It's just basically rubbing alcohol. And all this stuff was coming out. And so all these, all the hedge fund managers and everybody whose job it is to look at a company and, see the end in sight, looked at GameStop and said, they're done. It's over for GameStop. So yeah, they started shorting the market on GameStop. And at that point, which made sense, what they didn't foresee was Reddit. Okay. But number two, what they didn't foresee was the guy from Chewy coming in. And he came in, he replaced some of the board members. You mentioned they brought in the person from Amazon. They're bringing in people who have experience with online retailing, building a successful online business, an online presence, and that's going to be the future of GameStop. Is it worth $400 a share that it was sitting at the time? No. In fact, I think right now GameStop, given the current projections of where they're going to be in the process that this is going to take them to get to where they want to be online, I think you're looking at around a $16 to $22 a share stock right now would be right where I would put them until we see if they're successful or not. But that's not how the free market works. That's not how the free market works.
No,
if a bunch of people come in and buy the stock and the price goes up, so be it.
That's demand.
That's what it is. And if you have a super successful company like Amazon, for instance, and a bunch of people go and sell their stock and the price of your shares plummet, so be it. That's the free market. That's the risk you take when you become a publicly traded company. You take the normal Joe Schmo out on the street can buy your stock and sell your stock, and if enough of them do it, can impact the value of your company. So it was absolutely illegal what they did in blocking people from buying that stock, and I hope they get the pants fined off of them. And to be perfectly honest with you, the IPOs who did that, and the brokers and the sites and the firms that allowed that to happen, I hope some close, because
I hope so too.
That should never be allowed. That being said, Joe Biden should step in.
So let's talk a little bit more about that, right? Because they did question it in one of the morning briefings, and instead of answering the question, the press secretary, she says, "Oh, no, it's not a big deal. We should actually celebrate that we have the first woman heading the Department of Treasury."
No, I sent you a meme about that. Remember that?
Yeah, you did, exactly. the Family Guy one. So they completely sidelined the question, and then the press is just quiet about it. And the manipulation from the media on this was huge. I mean, this event alone over the last 2 weeks has exposed the corruption from the media, from the hedge funds, from the government tremendously. It just shows how they are manipulating prices just so that they can maximize their profits and then screw everybody else who's trying to participate on the supposed free market. It's non-existent. There's collusion going on everywhere with the firms, the government, the media. The media jumped on board this weekend, and they started to push tons of articles saying Reddit forgets about GameStop. Now they're going for silver. You look at the volume on GameStop, people were not selling the stock, but the price it kept going down. It doesn't make sense. Nobody's selling. I mean, very, very few people are selling. And you look at the volume you go to Fidelity, you go to all the different sites, more people are buying than selling, and the price keeps going down. And it's because of all the strategies that the hedge funds are trying to use to lower the prices, because they're going to have to cover for their shorts that they closed last Friday. They're supposed to pay for it. There's no timeline. They can extend it as long as they can afford to, because they have to pay interest on it. So who knows how long it will go. Once they cover for those shorts, the price of the stock will go up. And then that's when people expect to cash in. And then the price should normalize to what you're saying. I agree. It should be $16 to $20 or so. But it's exposing all the dirty tricks that they're using to manipulate the market and try to minimize their losses.
They don't like it when regular people get involved.
No,
not in that level, right? Not the level that Impact had. And it just came from it was just an underground Reddit, and everybody got on board and used their $600 stimulus money to buy stock in GameStop and spike it up.
Well, and then some heavy volume buyers started to step in, like you say, Mark Cuban and Elon Musk, and they started to jump on board because, like Elon Musk, he hates short sellers because they've been trying to short Tesla for a long ass time, and it has never materialized for them. So people just start to jump on board, and a lot of people that usually don't invest got into it just to say, hey, we're going to destroy those hedge funds, because they've lost, I think, $70 billion in 1 month just because of the shorts and the situation. So they are proactively trying to destroy those hedge funds. And I like it. I personally like it. I invested some money, and we'll see. I'm not expecting big things. If it happens, it happens. If not, I've been entertained a lot for the last week or so with this situation. Fortunately, Bitcoin is doing really good, so that's kind of washing the losses from GameStop and AMC.
AMC was supposed to be the next one, right?
Yeah,
AMC was supposed to be the next one that everybody jumped on,
which
and carried all the way
jumped a little bit, but nothing like GameStop yet. Nothing like GameStop. We'll see what happens. I mean, I think that whistleblower got all the information to Glenn Greenwald, and supposedly there'll be something out, and that can go along with the lawsuit. So we'll see.